Today, our national debt is at $38 trillion and counting. In the time it took me to read that first sentence, the debt increased by over $200,000. By this time tomorrow, we'll add $6 billion more. By any calculation, our nation's debt is staggering. For generations, politicians here in Washington have shunned hard conversations about spending, choosing to max out our national credit card and leaving the next generation to foot the bill. Families across our nation have to balance their budgets, and there's no reason their elected leaders shouldn't as well. Americans know that debt comes with strings attached. It's no different for government. Every dollar we spend beyond our means today is a dollar and change we must repay tomorrow. The more America borrows, the more expensive every next borrowed dollar becomes. Indeed, annual federal spending on interest, the price we pay for the last generation's fiscal indiscretion, is now one of the largest line items we have in the budget. We spend more on interest than we do on national defense. We spend more on interest than we do on Medicare. Republicans and Democrats will have different policy ideas and priorities, but surely we can agree that a budget hamstrung by huge interest payments benefits nobody. Our fiscal trajectory is alarming and unsustainable. Make no mistake, a reckoning will come. Indeed, America is already long down the road to a debt crisis. Financial markets have already shown grave concerns about America's long-term debt load. Higher than expected interest rates or other challenges could trigger a debt spiral. It's happened to other countries throughout history. It could happen to us, and without changes, it will happen to us. When that day of reckoning comes, it will be ugly. Spending cuts will be drastic and immediate instead of targeted and phased in over a longer period. Massive tax hikes will take money out of your pocket, not to fund new services, but to pay for services already rendered. It is a matter of when, not if, unless we make changes now while we still can. That's why we're having a hearing today on a balanced budget amendment. A balanced budget amendment would be a possible tool to beat back a future fiscal crisis. It could reduce the cost of living here and now. The enormous federal debt load is already driving up borrowing costs for all Americans, your mortgage, your car payment, and your student loans. And we saw the disastrous effects of budget-busting deficit spending during the catastrophic 4 years of the previous administration. With the eager support of my Democratic colleagues in Congress, the Biden-Harris administration approved $4.7 trillion in new deficit spending, racking up $8.5 trillion in new debt. And now we had the worst inflation in 40 years. When Biden and Harris took office in January 2021, inflation was at just 1.4%, and by the middle of their term, it was over 9%. Inflation is a tax on everyone, but we all know who it hurts the most: the poor, the working class, seniors on fixed incomes, and American families who saw their expenses explode, but no similar increase in their salaries. A balanced budget amendment is a long-debated tool that, if properly structured, could limit Washington's inflationary overspending and ensure that future federal outlays are funded with actual revenue, not debt and money printing. Indeed, a balanced budget amendment could build on the work we started with the One Big Beautiful Bill. We fought hard to ensure that we kept our promises of fiscal discipline. A balanced budget amendment could force Congress to kick the habit of spending money we don't have once and for all. I hope my colleagues on the other side of the aisle will join us in calling for a full debate and a full consideration of a balanced budget amendment to get our fiscal house in order. Believe it or not, there's a long history of Democrats supporting balanced budget amendments, including former California Governor Jerry Brown. I hope that's still the case today. Let's have a good and honest debate on various proposals. Some proposals allow Congress to approve deficit spending only by a supermajority vote, and some delay the amendment's effective date to allow for a softer landing. I hope that we'll explore these finer points today with our expert panel. The concept of a balanced budget amendment is simple and powerful. It's important that we get the details right. Many states have requirements that they must balance their budgets. The federal government should be similarly situated. But I will note, and I know some of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will raise appropriately the questions that if you have a balanced budget amendment with exceptions, will Congress not drive a truck through those exceptions, just as they currently do every time we vote on a debt ceiling increase? I say that to say that I'm not here to say that a balanced budget amendment is a panacea for irresponsible members of Congress on both sides of the aisle that continue to blow our budget to smithereens. We have to have responsibility in Congress, and a balanced budget amendment will not make up for irresponsible members of Congress who will exploit any loophole to spend money that we don't have and mortgage our children's future. The reason we're here to talk about a balanced budget amendment is because something has to change. If we're going to do something, structure it properly. If we're going to do something to actually put brakes on what Congress does. That's what I hope we will debate today and have a full conversation about. Because we've been talking about a balanced budget amendment for years, but every year or every other year or every few years, we literally disregard the current limit on our spending when we lift the debt ceiling. And we do it with regularity and with impunity. The question really before us is whether or not we should amend the Constitution of the United States to have some sort of structural changes to force Congress to be fiscally responsible, recognizing that both sides, as you just saw in its normal, relatively petty way, pointed at each other for being the cause of our deficit woes. And the fact of the matter is, both sides, my Democratic colleagues and my Republican colleagues, past, present, and future, are responsible for this. I think some reporting was done that when Mr. Musk came to visit the Republican delegation in December a year ago, almost to the date, probably this week, I'm guessing, if somebody Googles it, that Mr. Musk was talking about DOGE and talking about the savings, and many Republican colleagues went to the microphone and lauded the prospects of cuts and spending restraint. And I stood up and I said, Mr. Musk, you're going to have no problem identifying things to cut. You're going to produce a great list, and we should do most of it. But your problem is going to be everyone standing right next to me here, meaning all of my colleagues. Now, I would have said that. It happened to be a Republican meeting. I would have said that about my Democratic colleagues as well, because as my friend from Kentucky said, we are constitutionally, as members of Congress, hardwired, unfortunately, to want to effectively buy people's votes with a never-ending array of spending programs, whether they are meritorious or not. I often have people who come into my office who ask for cancer subsidies. As a cancer survivor, I'm sympathetic. I often and almost always tell them no, unless they come in with a payment. They tell me how they're going to pay for it. What else are they going to cut? Same thing with my farmers. My farmers come in and they are looking for something for extensions in the Farm Bill and so forth. And I say, well, are you going to do anything about the 80% of the Farm Bill that is SNAP and the extent to which it is consuming the budget? Well, no, or can't. Well, then I'm not going to support it. Members of Congress have got to actually, to the gentleman from Kentucky's point, do their job. The only thing I want to clarify here for the record, because we are here trying to talk about whether we should amend the Constitution, is I just want to go down the witnesses and say, and I think I know the answer, but just yes or no, do you believe that the Constitution of the United States can and should be amended to provide a mechanism to ensure that we are not spending more than is coming in as a general matter? Mr. Walker, do you believe it can and should be?
Yes, but I believe it ought to be debt to GDP.
Mr. Couchman?
Yes, as nearly every advanced country has already done.
Ms. Madney?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Duke?
Should not.
Okay. Mr. Duke, you would maintain that position even if it were only tax increases that were suggested as the mechanism for ensuring that there was fiscal responsibility and that inflows and outflows were equitable?
That's the job of Congress to do. I'm a 49ers fan. I wouldn't approve of a law that said 49ers win the Super Bowl each year.
So, I mean, I at least appreciate the consistency that you're saying that it shouldn't be put in place even for tax increases as opposed to spending restraint. But what I would question then is, and I don't even debate the merits of whether or not Congress is shirking its responsibility on an annual basis. I would only point out that it has done so for effectively eternity. And so the question here is, on behalf of the American people, what do we do about it? Because as Mr. Massey said, it's like, well, elect better people. Well, we never have. We elect 435 people to members of Congress who do the same thing every Congress, which is spend more money than we take in revenues. So I think my question is, I mean, again, do you not believe that there should be some mechanism, something in place? Perhaps, for example, if you can't amend the Constitution, we don't think we should do that, then should we have statutory restraints that say that members of Congress should not get paid? Or members of Congress shouldn't be able to hold chairmanships if they vote for budgets that are out of balance? Or that members of Congress in the NRCC or the DCCC can't raise money with all of their special perks and benefits to raise money for incumbent members of Congress who are crapping all over the American people by mortgaging their children's future? Is there anything that we can or should do as Congress to restrain Congress from racking up deficits?
I think Congress has to want it. I think your colleague, Mr. Massey, laid it out, that it's on the members of Congress to do it. For example, I think of statutory pay-go, right? Where we have a law that says if you increase the deficit, automatic across-the-board spending, it always gets waived.
I get it, but we do this all the time. And I'm not going to go too far over my time. I'm trying to be indulgent to my colleagues, so I'll give myself a few more seconds. But we've done that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I know, but that's why we're here. And I can sit here and I can ask these guys questions. I know what their answers are going to be. I know what your answers are going to be. The point here is we didn't have an actual debate about amending the Constitution to try to achieve something. Or in the absence of amending the Constitution, is there something this body, the United States Congress, can do to stop doing what we're doing, which is killing our country with interest piling up around the ears of our children? And if the answer is only that we've got to look in the mirror and be better, I agree. But we never do. We don't. And those of us that are dying on the Hill, trying to fight on the spending restraint, it's literally like pulling teeth to get discretionary spending held flat while we try to grow the economy out of it and deal with the fact that mandatory spending has gone from what? 4% in 1962 to what? 24% now of the overall GDP? And discretionary has gone from about 12% to 6% over that time. Mandatory spending is consuming it.